What's poppin'? It's me, Jake. Welcome back to the Basement Buffs. Uh, this month's episode of what I watched this month is this. There's a lot more than February, but I'm gonna try to keep it about the same length as the episode for February, because you can only watch me talk about movies so much. But I watched a lot of movies this month. This month I watched 20 movies total, which is it's a lot. It was a lot. Didn't mean to do that. Just happened to do it. But yeah, let's get into it. The first movie I watched this month of March. These are movies I watched in March. Realized I never said that. Let's get into it. First movie I watched was Lost in America, starring Albert Brooks and Monica McGowan Johnson, directed by Albert Brooks. It's basically two 30-year-olds married who really, really like the movie Easy Rider, and they're like, fuck it, let's do that. Let's be Easy Rider. And it goes really, really poorly to very funny results. I personally liked it. I think Albert Brooks is hilarious. So, if you don't know who Albert Brooks is, maybe watch some clips from his movies. He's very witty and very observationally funny. I followed that up with the Lost in America, 7 out of 10. I'm tired. DMX is dead. I'm not doing well. That's a note for Kyle when he's editing this. Give me some slack. Followed up Lost in America with the Roseman Pike Netflix movie, I Care a Lot. This movie was fucking awful. It's supposed to be a comedy. I didn't laugh at all. It won a Golden Globe for Best Performance by an Actress in a Comedy for Rosamund Pike. And although she was the best thing about this movie, she wasn't great. The movie wasn't good. I did not like this movie. My girlfriend loved this movie. I gave it a 3 out of 10. I hated this movie. I followed that up. I washed my mouth out, little rinse and spit, with Soul. If you haven't heard me talk about it yet, this movie's a masterpiece. I love this movie. I'm not going to talk about it that long because I don't have anything left to say about this movie. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10. I followed that up with The United States vs. Billie Holiday, the Lee Daniels biopic on Billie Holiday starring Andra Day. I'm going to say everything I like about this movie. Andra Day was good. That's all I really liked about this movie. This movie was not good. I did not like this movie. It bummed me out. I think Lee Daniels is a great director and creator of cool stuff. I thought this movie was a waste of my time. Could have been a lot better. It didn't need to be experimental. Just make a biopic on Billie Holiday. Don't make a surrealist thing. It was weird, and I didn't like it. It time hopped. I didn't know it was doing that until after it happened. It was like, oh, that was 10 years ago. I wouldn't know. You didn't do anything to show that. I didn't fucking like it. But Andra Day was good. She deserves award recognition. If she wins, I'll fucking shoot my foot. United States versus Billie Holiday, 4 out of 10. I followed that up with the Netflix documentary Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell on the Notorious B.I.G. Fucking awesome. As a hip-hop fan, it's amazing. As a person who likes documentary movies, it's amazing. And as a fan of Biggie Smalls, it was awesome. I think everybody should watch this. I thought it was a really well done documentary on the Notorious B.I.G. to just show where he came from, what he did, and how he's been celebrated, and it sort of painted a false picture of him. And this documentary shows that, yeah, he was not a fuck up, but he wasn't the saint that people view him as now. In a good way. Like, it does a good job of showing who he was. I loved it. 10 out of 10. I followed that up with the Eddie Murphy comedy Coming to America to watch the second one. We'll get there. But Coming to America is a classic. If you haven't heard of it, I'm sorry. I don't have anything revolutionary to say about it, and it's not doing anything revolutionary with its comedy. But in terms of Eddie Murphy comedies, it's probably my favorite. It is aged probably the best out of his comedies. It's fantastic. I loved it. So Coming to America, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, and I watched it solely to watch the second movie. So I followed Coming to America with Princess and the Frog, the 2009 Disney animated movie. It's fun. It's a good time. I've watched it a lot. It's a good one. I think it's good. It's a good Disney movie. It's a lot of fun. It's cute. The villain is awesome. The music in this movie it slaps so hard. It goes harder than it has any right to. I think it's like Tarzan, any Phil Collins soundtrack. All right, Lion King, okay, Princess and the Frog is that good. I love it. It's a great movie. Everybody should watch it. And I followed that up. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Princess and the Frog. 8 out of 10. It's good. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you're like, I don't like animated princess movies, watch it. It's funny. And I followed that kids movie. I followed up with the 2007 David Fincher film, Zodiac. Really great film here. Really dark. Really thematically just heavy. It's about the true story about the Zodiac killer in the Bay Area of California. And it does a really good job of showing how obsessed people became with this case and how unsolvable it became and how it was never solved, which is the most disturbing part of this whole movie. It's a 2.5 hour mystery thriller trying to solve a murder, like a serial killer murder spree that actually happened, and they never solved it. In real life, they never solved this. So in the movie, they're getting close, and you're like, oh, we're about to solve it. And then they don't solve it because they never solved it. And it is disturbing, and the ending is super effective of like, oh shit, we might have fucked up, and that's it. And if you haven't seen it, you should. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, it's got Robert Downey Jr., it's got Mark Ruffalo. What else do you want? What more? What more do you need? It's fantastic. 10 out of 10. Love Zodiac. One of my favorite movies. I've watched it way too many times, especially because it's 2.5 hours. No one needs to watch this movie that many times, but I've watched this movie so many times. 10 out of 10. Zodiac's great. I followed Zodiac up with the 1984 Stephen Frears English crime thriller, The Hit, starring, what's his name? Terrence Stamp, who is best known as the butler from The Haunted Mansion, starring Eddie Murphy. Yeah, that guy, the bad butler, that guy, he's in this movie. He's the main character of this movie. I did not know what to expect with this movie. I bought it for $15 online. I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. It sounds cool. I watched it. Fucking crazy movie. It's about a hitman who is hunted down and captured by rival hitmen, and it's a road movie. So they capture him, and they're taking him to another point where it's supposed to be like they're going to figure out what to do with him because they've been hunting him for years. And the whole movie is the road movie, and it's just the main guy, Terrence Stamp, being like, yeah, I'm ready to die. Fuck it. And these philosophical conversations on life and the meaning of life and death and killing and, you know, are you a good person if you kill, and will he go to heaven, and if he's not, is he okay with that? And it's just really weirdly philosophical. I wanted an action thriller, and instead I got a philosophical movie, but I was very okay with it. It was like surprisingly fucking awesome, and I'm glad I bought it. And I think if you can find it online, you should watch it because it was great. And I followed 9 out of 10. The Hit, 9 out of 10. Great movie. I followed that up with the Denis Villeneuve. I hope I said that right. Please don't kill me, Denis Villeneuve. I followed that up with the 2013 thriller Prisoners because I was just in a happy mood and I wanted to wreck it. If you've never seen this movie, it's an anxiety attack on film. It's about a father whose kid goes missing. And that's it. He just has to find the kid. You ever seen it?
Arguably one of Hugh Jackman's best roles.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. His performance.
So good. So it's about a father who has to find his daughter, and then the detective who's on the case to find the daughter. And it's just a lot. It's very heavy because it does this thing that most movies don't do with stories like this, where once the daughter goes missing, she's gone. And you don't see anything from the perspective of the kidnapper. You don't get a glimpse into how she's doing. There are no clues. There's no hints. She's fucking gone. It does it wonderfully, though, in building the tension of, like, we gotta find this kid. Because the detective's like, look, I know we got time running up and that kid could die. And the dad's just like, I want to find my fucking daughter. But it's amazing. Hugh Jackman plays the father in what can only be described as his most Oscar bait performance. He was really going for it. He killed it too, like not in a bad way, like he crushed it. And Jake Gyllenhaal plays the detective, and he's really great in it too. Actually, probably one of his most rated performances. Like he crushes it. It's a great movie. I love it. I've watched it a lot. It's one of my favorite movies. It's heavy. It's a little dark. It's a lot of dark. It's really dark. It's fucking dark. 10 out of 10. I loved it. Followed Prisoners up with another dark movie that not a lot of people have seen, which bums me out because I think it's one of the best like action thrillers horror thrillers of all time. The 2015 movie Green Room. This movie is battle royale type. It's a battle royale type movie. Like it's like it's like a small group versus a much larger group of people. But the small group is a punk rock band and the larger group is neo-Nazis. So it's something. It follows a punk band that does a show at a bar that they discover is a neo-Nazi bar, which is not good. And they, as they're leaving, witness a murder that they weren't supposed to witness, and they're then locked in the bar and hunted down and by the Nazis. But it is intense. It's basically, the movie is basically like once the murder happens and the band is locked in the bar, it's like somebody's just taken like a violin and they're just tuning it and they're winding it tight, and then they just are like, oh, it's too tight. And that's like the tension of the movie. And they're like, oh, it's too tight. And then they're just like, no, it's not. And they just keep making it tense. And it's like, oh, no, that's way too tight. Like my heart's beating way too fast. And they're like, nah, not yet. And they just keep going and going. And then when it breaks and all the tension breaks and action shit starts happening, it's awesome. But they use violence in a way that's like horrific. Like you don't want to see what they're going to do. Like at one point, a Nazi walks in the bar with a machete and you're like, oh no. Because the violence in this movie is graphic. One dude gets his hand, like, not chopped off fully, but, like, severed, but, like, to, like, here with a knife. So then it's just dangling, and it's like, oh. And, like, you know, like you think about that, and you're like, ooh. But, like, in a movie, that's, like, not that bad. Nah, because when it dangles, you're seeing shit. There's bones. It's gross. It's disgusting. And it's very effective in making you be like, they gotta get out of here and survive. But whenever you see somebody with a weapon, you're like, that's not good. This is not going to be good for anybody. It's amazing. Anton Yelchin, the guy from Star Trek that died, young, really young actor. It's one of his final roles, and he's amazing in it. Everybody in this movie does great, and I feel more people should see this movie. I love it. I try to show it to as many people as I can that can stomach it. I showed the trailer to my girlfriend, and she looked me in the face and said, we will never watch that movie. So some people just, they can't stomach it. I understand. I can. I love it. 9 out of 10. I followed that up with a much lighter-hearted movie. I watched Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein from 1974. Again, this is a movie, I don't have anything revolutionary to say about it. It's fucking funny. Gene Wilder's great. Everybody in it's great. It's a funny movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's fantastic. It's almost 40. Like, it's still hilarious. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And I don't have anything else to add to it. 8 out of 10. I followed that up with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I got a lot to say about this movie. Because this movie isn't good. It's not great. It's not awesome. It's not good. But it's not bad. Because I've seen Justice League, and that movie was ass. And having seen Justice League, and now seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League, this movie fucking kills it. And I love it. But at the same time, it's not good. Like, watching it, I watched it twice, which I wouldn't recommend, because it's 4 hours. But I watched it twice, because the first time I watched it, I was like, this is amazing. And then I realized I loved it a little too much, and I was like, there's no way it's that good. And I rewatched it, and I was right. It's really not that good. But there's something about the event of this movie that makes me love it just so much, because this doesn't happen ever to this extent of, like, Warner Brothers put out a movie that was not this director's movie. So they let him put out his vision, and it's just so different. Not necessarily great or good. It's all right. I'm going to say it's all right. It's all right. You should watch it just because you should watch I think people should watch the 2017 Justice League and then watch this. I think that'd be amazing. Because I think then people would understand what I'm trying to say. Because it's not good, but it's not terrible. It's not nearly as bad as Justice League from 2017, but it's not a good movie. 7.5 out of 10. That doesn't make sense, I know. But watch 2017 Justice League and then watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then 7.5 out of 10 will make sense. But I followed that 4-hour saga up with The Netflix original movie Win It All, starring Jake Johnson, about a gambling addict who almost loses everything, and it's a comedy. And it was good. I liked it. Jake Johnson's great. Jake Johnson plays an everyman really well. He plays a gambling addict who can't say no to anything immaculately. I did not think that was going to be like funny, but he kills it. And it's just really funny. The ending is probably one of the funniest long bit jokes I've ever seen in a movie, because like the whole premise is he's just this guy who likes to go gambling. And then he has a friend who's going to jail who's like, hey, if you watch this duffel bag for the time I'm in jail, I'll pay you 10 grand. You just don't touch the bag. He's literally just like, don't take it, don't touch it, throw it in your closet, forget you have it. When I get out in 6 months, I'll give you 10 grand. Jake Johnson's like, cool, no problem, I'll do it. Within a week, he opens the bag and finds just like, 20 grand. And so he gambles all of it away, gets really far in the hole. And then I'm going to say it's a spoiler because in the end, fuck it, it's like almost 5 years old. And people aren't watching it anyways. It did not make a lot of money. It's on Netflix and nobody's seen it. He gambles it all away and then wins it all back. And then some. So like he wins all this money back, puts it in the bag, and at the end of the movie, he gives the bag back to the guy from prison. And then in one of the funniest bits I've ever seen, during the credits, it cuts to the guy that he gave the bag to and his like drug dealer friend or whatever. And they're cutting all the money. And they're like cutting it up, counting it, making sure it's all there. And all of a sudden the drug dealer looks up and goes, homie, you've got $400 more than you should. And it cuts to black. And I laughed way too hard. I thought that was the funniest thing, period. It was so funny because the whole movie, the tension is we got to get the exact amount. We got to get it right. And then he fucks up, not by being too short, but by giving too much. And that just made me laugh a lot. I thought that was funny. But then I was in like a gambling movie mood. So I was like, what else should I watch? And I gave Win It All before I stopped talking about it. Win It All, I'm going to give 7 out of 10, mostly just because I love Jake Johnson. Everything else about this movie was okay, but Jake Johnson's great, so 7 out of 10. I followed that up with Mississippi Grind, the 2015 gambling movie starring Ryan Reynolds and Ben Mendelsohn. And this movie is awesome. Both the main characters, played by Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds, are incredibly likable and at the same time so sleazy. Like the whole movie, I was watching Ryan Reynolds like, you're going to do something dickish. You're going to be a dick, right? And he's not. But they're just, they're so slimy because they are gambling addicts to the 10,000th power. Like they cannot stop gambling. At one point, they want to stop gambling and they're like, we got to leave this casino. And the other one, Ben Mendelsohn turns to Ryan Reynolds. He goes, fine, we'll leave if. And he turns to the bathroom door and he goes, I'll bet you we leave if the person that comes out of that bathroom is wearing glasses. If he's not, we stay. And Ryan Reynolds is like, you're on. And then they stand there and they wait for the person to come out of the bathroom. Like that's how much they gamble. They gamble everything. But the movie is great. It was paced incredibly. The cinematography was immaculate. And I was like, I wonder what these directors have done. Like, was this their debut? And it was directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. And it was their debut. And they followed it up. Oh, no, it wasn't their debut. But it was one of their last indie movies. Because then they followed it up with Captain Marvel. Yeah. So it's these two directors that make really great indie movies. And I was like, wow, this movie's really great. I wonder what else they've made. They made Half Nelson with Ryan Gosling. They made a movie called Sugar. They made It's Kind of a Funny Story. Then they made Mississippi Grind. And then they made Captain Marvel. So they're great directors. And this movie was fantastic. I really liked it. It was a fun watch. It was really good. It was a great drama. And it was a good dramedy. Really fun. Highly recommend it. 8 out of 10. Followed that up with the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Total Recall, which I had never seen before. And I get it. It was fun. Action movie, sci-fi movie. Fun. Sharon Stone kills it. Hot. Looks great. Arnie kills it. Does his action movie thing. The three boob lady kills it. Yeah, it was fun. I don't have anything revolutionary to say about it. It's an action sci-fi movie, shoot 'em up thing. It was good. 7 out of 10. Not a lot of lows this month. Followed up Total Recall with the Francis Ford Coppola 1974 film, The Conversation, starring Gene Hackman. I did not like this movie. I wanted to like this movie. Everything about this movie, I really should have liked this movie. I love Francis Ford Coppola's movies. I was really excited to watch this. This was probably one of the only ones I hadn't seen, so I was like, let's go. I love Gene Hackman. I love John Cazale, who's one of the supporting actors in this. I love the whole premise of a guy who is a wiretapper who lives his life in complete paranoia and becomes wrapped up in a conspiracy. That sounds really cool. I did not like this movie, and I think it's because it's been done. I think this movie did it really well, and then I think in the decades after, it was done again to better results. And having seen those movies, watching this, it was so slow. It was a bore. I did not care about Gene Hackman's character at all. He was unlikable. There was nothing about him that I gave a fuck about. And by the end of the movie, when he loses everything, I just didn't care. It felt so long. It was only an hour and 45 minutes. It felt like 3 hours. It just drags, which sucks because I really wanted to like this movie. 4 out of 10. Up there with I Care a Lot, you know? Really great. Followed up The Conversation with the Akira Kurosawa 1985 masterpiece, Ran or Ron. I still don't know how to pronounce it, if it's Ran or Ron. The Akira Kurosawa 85 samurai movie that is heavily influenced by King Lear. And going into this, I expected just a really long, it's 3 hours, and I expected a 3-hour samurai fight movie, forgetting that it was inspired heavily by Shakespeare. And although Macbeth and King Lear and Hamlet have bursts of violence in them, they are not violent stories. This movie, although having bursts of violent scenes, is not a violent movie. It is a political movie, but it is not violent. I was ready for samurai fights and shit, and instead I got a very, very, very well done political story about a king trying to divide his kingdom between his 3 sons, and then how power corrupts those sons, and they all fight each other, and a war happens, and you don't see a lot of it. You see some of it. The scenes with action are fucking amazing. They're huge. It's awesome. But it makes me sound like I don't like it when I talk about it like this. I was just expecting one thing. I got another thing. And what I got, I liked a lot. I really, really did like it. It just wasn't what I wanted, so I felt confused. But it was great. I'm going to give Ran, what did I give it? I'm going to give Ran an 8 out of 10. And then I followed Ran up with my second to last movie of the month, The Godfather, Francis Ford Coppola's 1972 masterpiece. And I have nothing more to say about that movie. It's a fucking masterpiece. Marlon Brando kills it. Al Pacino kills it. James Caan is iconic. Diane Keaton is there. She's not in it a lot. That's why I say that. She's good when she's in it. Robert Duvall is great. Everybody in this movie is amazing. This movie is amazing. I think the pacing is immaculate. I've seen this movie so many fucking times, and I never get bored of it. I love this movie. 10 out of 10. One of the best movies of all time. Amazing. And I ended the month on March 31st watching Godzilla vs. Kong. Worst movie of all time. No, great movie. Bad movie. Bad movie, but a perfect example of so bad, it's good. This movie is so bad. There are like 9 human characters in this movie you're supposed to care about. I didn't give a fuck about any of them. None of them matter. I don't know their names in the movie. I know the actors that play them, and when they came on screen, I went, oh yeah, Millie Bobby Brown. Oh yeah, Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights. Oh yeah, that's really it. That's really all I remember being in it. But when the monkey fights the lizard, shit's amazing. The visual effects in this movie are killer. It's so fucking fun when they're fighting. They demolish, I'm pretty confident, 80% of Hong Kong. And like, the movie tries to be like, no, there's no people in the city. Because like right before the fight happens, like fucking, the final fight happens in Hong Kong. And right before it happens, somebody goes, No, we ordered the evacuation 30 minutes ago. That's cool if it's a small town in Iowa. This is a mega city in the world. This is Hong Kong. You can order the evacuation, but 30 minutes, you've got panic, you've got backup traffic, public transportation's probably going to have some problems. You run into a lot of issues. People aren't getting out of the city. And then you have a 400-foot monkey and dinosaur going at it. They destroy buildings. They're destroying theme parks. At one point, they destroy a Ferris wheel. And then Godzilla uses his nuclear breath. They're just cutting buildings in half. Pretty sure you couldn't get out of that in time. Like, this movie has to have, like, top 3 population kills of all time. Up there with, like, Man of Steel and fucking Deep Impact, but that's the end of the world. Like, a fucking asteroid destroys the world. So maybe Man of Steel, Day After Tomorrow. Day After Tomorrow, Man of Steel, Godzilla vs. Kong. 1, 2, 3. They kill so many people in this movie, and they don't acknowledge it. They don't give a fuck. Like, they destroy all of Hong Kong and just call it a day. Like, the fight ends, movie ends, and it's just like, it's at least 100 million people gone. Dead.
That meme of SpongeBob and Patrick going,
We saved the city!
It's that. No, it's that. It's literally, they fight for like 40 minutes, just demolishing the city. And then it's like Mechagodzilla's there. He's got a laser, killing more people. When they fall, they take out a city block. I'm ranting at this point. I'm going on a little too long. But you're killing so many people. But it's awesome. This is a great example of a movie like so bad it's good, and also a terrible movie sober. But if you get a little buzz going, immaculate. Watch that movie. I think everybody should because it's just really fun. 5 out of 10. I liked it. And that's all I watched this month. Next month, I've already watched Kong vs. Godzilla again. Little preview. That's what we've got coming up. See you in a month. The end.